So the question is, how do I deal with a strong spaz? A spaz, okay, so a spaz is like a rubber bag full of doorknobs that's just bouncing around and hitting you, right? Spaz. So there's kind of a little bit in this question that we need to pull apart. It reminds me of when somebody describes some grappling situation or an MMA fight and they use the word scramble. So they were scrambling, like as if they were breakfast eggs or something. A scramble is when one or more of the people involved or observing do not know what's happening, okay? A scramble is not some unpredictable chaos of movements for everyone there. It may be uncommon. It may be the first time that specific series of movements has happened, but it's not useful necessarily to describe something as a scramble, because what does that mean? It just means that there's some undecipherable thing that has occurred. Now I bring that up because a spaz is, if you've done jiu-jitsu for, let's say, a month, you probably have encountered a spaz in some way. And so, what is a spaz, and then how do we deal with it? A spaz is somebody who moves with commitment in ways that we are not expecting because of what we've learned to expect. Okay, and so those are all important pieces to it. Spaz is somebody who moves with commitment, so that's why a spaz might be responsible for injuries and such things. They move, they really intend to step to this place, and their knee comes down and they boom, hit someone in the head with their knee. But they commit to their movement. A spaz cannot be somebody who's sort of hesitant in their movements. That almost undoes the very nature of a spaz. It's kind of hard for me to keep saying the word spaz with a straight face because it is such a kind of funny thing to be or to claim to be in jiu-jitsu. So the next part of it is they move in ways that are unpredictable because of what we've learned to predict. So when I'm rolling with somebody that you could probably consider a spaz, and spazzes exist at black belt, brown, all the way down. It's not something that goes away. Part of what I do when I'm rolling with a spaz is making sure that I don't get some injury. I don't want to be putting my legs in a position and then they twist in some way that I probably wouldn't recommend, and then I get my knee hurt because of that. Or I keep my hands up in front of my head from the half guard, not because they're cross-facing me, maybe they don't even know to cross-face me, they're not even going for it, but they're falling all over the place and I don't want to catch a knee to the eyeball. So spazzes exist at every level. And the nature of a spaz is to move in a way that is divergent from the motor patterns that you're learning in class. Otherwise, you would just call them, if they're moving in ways that you learned in class, you would just call them skilled. But a spaz is somebody who's like maybe skilled at some times and maybe they're all over the place at other times. And the first thing is, you don't have to deal with a spaz. You don't have to spar with somebody who could potentially injure you. And that's important to mention because for me, for example, I will roll with a spaz and I'll work with them because I have a standard for myself that I should be able to defend myself from all of these different things and not get kneed in the head, and all of those problems I should be able to capture at once. But I've been doing jiu-jitsu for a while and I wouldn't expect a newer student to have that same standard. For newer students, it's most important that their practice is safe so that they continue their practice so they get better. And spazzes may move in a way that they just have no idea how to deal with, and so that's just off the table for now, and it's not really a problem that they can immediately solve. So then there's like this sort of in-between ground where someone's not completely new, and they're also not experienced enough to create sort of like a bounce house for the spaz to exist in while they do jiu-jitsu with that person. And sort of this middle ground. In those cases, there's like the spaz that just moves in ways that are not necessarily productive for them. They turn left when they should have, for all intents and purposes, they should have turned right, and that turn to the left actually gave up a back take, and that's a bad habit they're developing. In those instances, what you want to do is allow for them to move, but not allow for them to move in ways that could injure you. So you keep your joints, your hands, your knees close to your chest and to your face. In that way, they will be able to twirl around and do all these different things, and then you can capture them in your guard and work with them. So that's they're moving in like an exceedingly down an exceedingly incorrect path, but it's most important that you just protect yourself, because they're not actually doing something productive. They're not passing your guard, whatever it is. And then there's like this other sort of variation of a spaz who, when they get a crossface, they're clubbing you in the head, or elbowing your head into the mat, or when they put their knee in, like, they don't care if your groin is there or not. They're just putting their knee where they want to put their knee. And in those cases, it really comes down to what is the skill of the person that's the spaz, and what is your current skill. If your skill and your physical attributes are roughly the same, or you're higher and more experienced than them, it's something that is good to learn to deal with. And if you're not sure how to prevent them from kneeing you in the groin every time they try to pass your guard, it's worthwhile to look at why are you positioned in such a way that their leg is freely moving past your knee line to your groin. That's not something that you should allow for. On the other hand, if this person is more experienced than you and still is a spaz and clubbing you in the head and things like that, ask them a question. Ask them a question about the position you're in. Because a spaz, if you get them to pause and explain something to you, then they're not clubbing you in the head. They're actually giving you some answer, something useful to do against them. Now let's do a real example here. Person spaz is going for a crossface and clubbing you in the head. And they're clubbing you in the head and you don't know what to do, and so you're just getting smashed in the half guard, etc. So in that moment, you can lightly tap and go, hey, what should I do here? What's the right movement? Because you get this crossface on me and I don't know what to do. It's a lot of pressure and I'm like, I don't know what to do. So what do you think I should do here? And if they don't know, then that's you can ask your coach, you can get them involved. But by and large, if somebody is more experienced than you, they'll be happy to help you understand what's going on. And so you want to just ask them about the position and just keep asking them things until you're able to move with them at a rate where they're helping you to express these things they've just taught you. And the last point on this, just to kind of switch the perspective really quickly, I don't think anybody wants to be a spaz. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think that I've met someone who's like 5 goals in life, number 3 is be a spaz. It's generally a lack of awareness on their part. And so I say ask them a question because it forces a moment of pause for them to reflect on what's happening in that moment. And, oh, I'm clubbing this person in the half guard like I'm attacking a seal or something and smash them into the floor. Maybe I can pause and help them understand what to do, and then we'll both have a more productive round. Again, I don't think anyone really wants to be a spaz, and I think that asking them a question and getting some help from them is actually a great way to sort of flip that around and help them become aware of what's happening without pointing it out in a way that's accusatory and likely going to make them just more of a whirling dervish to deal with. So those are my thoughts on that. If you want more videos, please click below to subscribe. If you want to dive in deeper, you can click here to get a free video seminar I did of one of my favorite sequences from standing to submission. And if you have any questions or anything you want to see, please leave it in the comments below.